Welcome to the Value Exchange podcast. Join me as we ditch the small talk and superficial conversations and enter a space where intentional dialogue takes centre stage. From mental health to relationships, careers and beyond, we're here to dive deep into the topics that dominate our everyday lives, one conversation at a time. If you're ready to feel inspired, gain new perspectives and uncover invaluable insights, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Justin Garner from the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. Justin is also a freelance photographer and creative. Today, he joins me to talk about a mental health project he is currently working on, whilst sharing insights around the connection between creativity and improved mental well-being. Get ready for an insightful discussion. This one's not to be missed. Justin.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here. And I'm quite pleased that I'm like the first of your podcasts, aren't I? So yeah, it's thanks for inviting me. Yeah,
you're welcome. The reason I invited you on, which we're going to get into in a little bit, but first, can you introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yes. So my name's Justin Garner. I'm a youth worker, stroke photographer, and videographer as well. I've worked as a youth worker for about 20 years around Manchester. Currently I'm working for the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. This is how we met. And I, as well as doing youth work for them, one of my roles is to take pictures and record sessions by producing videos. But when I'm not working for the foundation, I'm basically a freelance photographer, and I do workshops and take pictures for companies and stuff like that. And also what this will kind of lead into is I also do talks around the country about kind of my art and my passion for photography and lighting and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That was a really good overview, and I think it captured kind of everything you do in just a short sentence. The reason I invited you on today is to talk about a project that you're currently working on. So can you tell us a little bit about that project and the inspiration behind it?
So the project is kind of merging two of my passions together. So you already know I'm a photographer. I've got a big passion in that and kind of do a lot of work around that. But I'm also passionate about people as well, and I like taking portraits. So my idea, and this has been an idea that's been running for, I would say, probably about 18 months. And that's where I focus on mental health. And I speak to people who might be suffering with their mental health or well-being, and we create a portrait or create a picture that they're in or they're directing to kind of tell me how to take it if they don't want to be in the picture. But that image explains how they're feeling inside their head. So it's a very creative image that I want to take. And within that project, and this is over time, I've realised that it's grown into many areas that I didn't think about. So yeah, it's quite exciting. I'm very excited about it, and I didn't realise kind of the scope of what the project would cover.
Yeah, I love this project. We've spoke about it, numerous times, and it's just because how impactful it's going to be, not just for those taking part, but for the audiences it reaches in kind of the different formats you decide to release it in. Such as doing the talks. And something I found quite interesting is most of the participants taking part are strangers, and to take part in the project, it involves having a conversation with yourself about what the individual struggles with.
Yeah.
So participants have to be quite vulnerable with you and open up about something they struggle with.
Yeah.
In your opinion, why do we feel more comfortable opening up to strangers as opposed to those close to us?
I feel like the fact that you don't know the person can massively help, because there's no judgment there. So say if it's a family member or a co-worker, for example, you might have reservations about telling people your deepest, darkest thoughts or your vulnerabilities as well. So I feel like when people don't, all they know is I'm a photographer and I'm doing this project, it's like there's a reason, for one, there's a reason to speak about mental health, because that's what I'm putting down on the table. So it's like already we're like, that's almost a taboo in society, where people think, not everyone, but a proportion of society will think it's something you shouldn't speak about, it's something behind closed doors. Whereas I'm promoting it and saying, this project's about, embracing it, but also I think it's more important speaking about it and sharing it with people. And I feel, because that person doesn't know me, it's easier to do that. And I feel like as well, in doing that, this is only from maybe my perception of this. Whenever I speak about anything that's in my mind, that's a weight on my mind. If I talk about it, it's a weight off my mind. Yeah. It's a really unusual thing where you might think, speaking about it, there is a fear because you don't want to be judged. But if you tell the right person, it's a massive lift off your shoulders. One of the things with this project I'm aiming to do is the fact that people speak about whatever their struggles are, and then someone else can see what that is visually and then relate to it and go, oh, I feel like that. And that's where the power comes in. So that's one of the aims I'm wanting to get, where people are speaking about things that are very personal to them, but there's a power drive behind it, where it's like, you're speaking about something that's a negative in your life, but we're going to flip it and spin it into a positive, where people can relate to it and people can say, I feel the same. Soon as someone says that, it's almost like a big cure for you. It's almost like, I'm not alone in feeling these dark thoughts that I might be feeling. And I feel like that's where the power comes in. But going back to people who don't know me, I feel like the ultimate thing with that is, it's almost like when you speak to a counsellor. When you see a counsellor, you don't know who that counsellor is, as in personal, like a friend or anything like that. It's always a stranger, but they've got your interests at heart. I'm not a counsellor at all, but I feel like I've got good listening skills and I've got empathy for understanding what people might be going through. So I feel like that's kind of the strength of maybe not knowing the people who are getting involved.
And that's so unique, because you'd think it was the other way around. So you'd think you'd be able to open up to those close to you and maybe not be so vulnerable with strangers. But that's the opposite in both this project and what you mentioned about beyond this project. So when you go to talking therapies, you're talking to a stranger. And not to make generalizations, but it is probably more comfortable for people to open up and be vulnerable to that stranger. And I guess what you said is, it's because the basis of that relationship is built on talking about mental health, both with your project and talking therapies, which basically translate to mental health is acceptable to talk about. And
definitely.
It's almost a norm in these relationships. So I guess the question is, how do we make conversations around mental health
the norm in maybe not our everyday relationships, but for those people who are close to us?
I feel like when I'm maybe having an off day or might be struggling or something like that, I think knowing the right people to speak to. And I remember hearing something just recently, and they were speaking about how when a person comes to speak to you about whatever they're going through, they might not want anyone to fix them. They might just want to speak, and that's it. And it's almost like they just want some ears to listen to what they've got to say. And I feel like you'll have an issue that might be kind of eating away at your mind, and when you talk about it, it makes it real almost. It's like it's in your head, but when you talk about it, it's almost a way of like offloading that weight that's there. So sometimes when you speak to family members or friends, they might go, oh, you want to do this, you want to do that, and that's not really what you want. It's just all you want is someone just to listen to you and give you that time and be understanding, and not be like, oh, you're an idiot, you are, or why'd you feel like that? Them kind of comments are just going to make you close up and make you come away from it and think, why did I bother? So I do think it's really good to speak to friends and family, but you have to choose the people to speak to. So definitely.
Yeah, I guess finding the right person is a challenge, because it's a bit of a game where you've got to figure out who is the right person. And that's why I always say it's not about just encouraging people to speak up about mental health. It's also about equipping people with the skills to navigate those conversations. Because from, when people have bad experiences opening up about mental health, like you said, if you tell someone and they're just trying to fix you, they're trying to give you solutions, they think they know what's best, and oftentimes they are well-intentioned, but they're just not equipped to navigate those conversations. From previous conversations, I know this is a feel-good project for you, and I'm curious to learn a little bit about the role creativity plays in improving or maintaining your own mental well-being.
Yeah, it's a massive part of my kind of well-being. I know for a fact that if I'm creative, it's really good for me. It's like one of the big areas that I know improves how I feel. And if I'm not feeling great, it's almost that thing where when you're not feeling good, you can't be bothered. You just, that thing of like, I'm going to stay in all day and be in my pyjamas or whatever. And I try and break that. And I mean, I don't really do that anyway, but I try and break out of it where I know that if I'm creative and thinking on that creative level, like maybe wanting to take photographs or create a video or something like that, that just gives me good stuff in my brain. It just fills my brain with like stuff that makes me dead excited and makes me think. So it might be that I'm not actually taking a picture, but I've got an idea. I'm like, right, I want to do this. I'm going to go away and then I start collecting, like having to get stuff to create this image. And that's really good for me. That process, I know, is feeding my brain with positive stuff. And this could be the same for if you're like doing physical exercise. You like, my brother likes running. I can't stand running. But he runs, and I know for a fact that's so good for his mental health, because the reason he does it, the reason we do anything really is something that's doing us good, or is something triggering us to go, oh, I like that. So the creative part, it's a big part for me really, and it's good. It's definitely helping my mental health by being creative in this way, and it's great that I've kind of found my kind of thing. Some people don't know. They go, oh, I'm not good at anything, or they haven't. I don't know. So I feel quite fortunate that I know what I like doing, and also I've realised, and it's time this, because when I was younger, I didn't really understand myself properly mentally, and then as you get older, you realise that you kind of get a better understanding of how your body works and how your brain works. And I know now that I'll have periods where I'm not feeling great, and I can combat it by going, right, one of the things is don't stay in, just force yourself out. My partner, I'm a little lad, this is a couple of weeks ago, oh, do you want to go for a bike ride? And I wasn't feeling great, raining outside, and I thought, I don't want to go on this bike ride. Convinced me to go on the bike ride. I go on the bike ride, and it's quite good, this. Drive down this, we've got like a country path, it's like a trail. We went down the trail, stopped at a cafe, and spoke to this person about taking pictures of their dogs, and then spoke to the woman who owns the cafe, because I'm doing this project in the town where I live, where I'm photographing sole traders, and arranged to take her picture as well. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I would have stayed at home and just been negative and just not been bothered going out, as well as being with the family and enjoying being with the family, and I actually really liked it, and I did some exercise, and I got these 2 new contacts that I didn't know before, and I thought, going out, I always remember a lad when I was younger, and he always said he loves going out, and I said, why do you like going out? He says, because things happen. And it's right, things happen, don't they? And it's like, and what we're speaking about, positive things happen to you, as in your mind feels good about it, gets what's the word I'm trying to say? Trying to think what I'm trying to say, but it gets positive things happening that interact with your mind and make you feel good and make you feel happy. It's stimulate. That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I guess that's just about perspective, and it seems like you've got a good self-awareness of almost the foundations of what can maintain your mental health. So getting outside, spending time with family, connecting with them strangers about something you're passionate about, that networking.
Networking is like a big part of the things that I like to do, finding out about people and what their interests are. I really like that, even if I'm not interested in it. If someone's like passionate about something, then it hooks me in. If they're like passionate about golf or whatever, I think, just because you're passionate about it, I'll link with you and just like ask you loads of questions, and I really like that. That's the great thing about meeting people and speaking to different people who are not kind of in your world, who are just so it's good.
I guess that energy is like infectious.
Yeah, exactly that. If someone's passionate about something, you can feel why they like it and stuff, and it's I think it's great when you bump into people like that.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, you do have a good self-awareness of the role creativity plays in maintaining your mental well-being. When did you realise the impact that had on your mental well-being?
I think, like I said before, about kind of understanding who I am. Age is great for that. When you kind of, when you're younger, you're kind of trying lots of different things out, and you don't. Some people know who they are quite soon, but some people, it takes a while. So I feel like understanding that, like for me, I've always been like this, been interested in nature and going out and stuff like that. So it's really just identifying the things that kind of make your mind feel good, isn't it? And the things that, that could be just simple things like going for a walk, or it could be physical things like cycling. But then if you've got things that you find that you excel at, then they're really good as well, because then you can do things where you might get really positive feedback, or you might get good rewards, where it might turn in, like me, my passion in photography has turned into a job. And that's great, because then if you can turn things like that into work, it don't feel like you're working. And if that's the case, then it's almost like one of the things that can get people down is work. if your work doesn't get you down and it's something that you actually enjoy, then that's a great thing then, because that's really good for your mental health, isn't it? So, I think understanding yourself, and also understanding, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't really know what was lacking in my day-to-day or week-to-week that was affecting my mental health. And then as time's gone on, I've realised, oh, that's good for me, or getting out of the rut as well. What we were touching on before about staying in and not doing anything. I'll always remember this about a doctor. I went to see a doctor and spoke to him that I was really down and quite depressed, and he said, do 3 things. First one is physical exercise. It says, do physical exercise, anything. It can be 10 minutes. Do something creative. That could be anything. Draw a picture. In my case, take a picture. And then he said, do something for others. And that part of it is, obviously, you're not thinking of yourself, you're thinking of someone else. So you kind of stop looking inwards. He said, if you've done them 3 things, then pat yourself on the back. He said, if you've done one of them 3 things, still pat yourself on the back. And I hold that close to me now, where I think them 3 things are really positive things to have in your life, where creativity is my thing. Wish I did more exercise, but I know that's really good for you as well. Physical exercise is great, and I always push this. You do things for others, it makes people smile, it makes you smile as well. So they're quite powerful things that I've got in my mind. I don't even know that doctor anymore, but I hold him up here in my head.
They seem like almost pillars.
Definitely.
To your mental well-being.
Definitely. And when anyone ever speaks to me about, we just speak about things around well-being, them 3 things are there all the time. It's and there'll be more, but for me, they're the key players for me.
That seems almost like maintaining your well-being. If we go back to the part where you said, if you know you're feeling down, you say, I can't stay in, I'll force myself out. That's almost like a coping mechanism for, difficult feelings, difficult emotions. I guess as individuals who work with young people, what's our role in supporting them to develop healthy coping mechanisms?
I think it's to direct them, or kind of show different things that they can do, trying to find out what they're good at, what they can excel at, and encourage things like physical exercise by playing football or doing things like that, or getting involved with as many things as you can get involved in, and not being... I mean, one of the struggles that young people face is a culture of like playing on computer games or doing things what's insular, or even on your phone. Like, phones have become this thing where you kind of zone out on a phone, and it isn't good for your mental health. What's good for your mental health is physically doing stuff. So I feel like with young people, if they can tap into the things that are physical and the actual are affecting them, and maybe kind of the role I've got now with the foundation, we do a lot of work around well-being, around young people understanding that if I do this, it makes me feel good. And this is at a young age, we're talking junior school age and stuff, and identifying that this makes my brain feel good. Even eating food, it might be some food that you eat, the reason you like it, why? Because it makes you feel good. So I feel like if it's just that realisation, and sometimes they need to be told, don't they? Go, the reason for this is this, because when I was younger, I didn't connect the connections together, and now you connect them and you're like, oh yeah, that's it. And sometimes, so I think with young people, definitely just guidance. It's like being a youth worker, isn't it? Guiding them to do different things. One of the things that I really like, if you're passionate about something, there'll be certain young people who'll see your passion, and then they can get hooked on it as well. And I like that, you know. One of my colleagues loves playing football, loves DJing as well, and they're two big things that we do in the foundation where young people get involved, and it's like a big connection. All it is identifying them to these things make you feel good.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you were saying it. I was like, helping them make that connection, because, you know, it seems like we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, we've got the Rio Ferdinand Foundation talking about mental well-being to young people, and I know that was missing when I was younger, so I imagine when you was younger it was almost maybe non-existent.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in school we didn't really have. I just don't think they had the knowledge the same way, and I feel like culturally it was a different, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
Culturally, it was. I think the school system and the way that support that's there for young people who might be struggling, and that might be struggling in education, and also struggling with their mental health, and the two things are combined as well. So, you know, if someone's struggling at home with their home life and it's affecting their mental health, they're not ready to learn. They're not good. So they're coming to school and they'll be not at a point where they can actually think, I am school ready, where I can sit down and be in a class and do maths, whereas the person next to him might be in a lot better place mentally, and he can take that on board. So that when I was younger, mental health it probably was spoken about, but I feel like the depth of it now is a lot more understanding around it. So yeah,
love that, especially the point about it's interconnected, you know, the education and the mental health. Like you said, when people have got bigger issues, they're not ready to come to school and learn, they're not ready to find work. You know, if we think about it from like a psychological perspective.
Exactly, yeah.
If you think about them hierarchy of needs, number one is going to be like safety, meeting your basic needs. So if they're not feeling safe, you know, they've got stuff going on at home, they're not ready to come to school and learn. Moving on, your project is giving people an outlet for speaking about things they struggle with. You're almost saying it's okay to speak out.
Yes, yeah.
At what point did you realise it was okay to speak out?
I feel that again, understanding of who I am and realising that, you know, there's certain people you can speak to when you're not feeling great, and the response you get back. So I feel like it's almost been an age thing with me, but kind of where I'm at now, I feel, you know, when you speak to people and you get, I don't know, a person who's got good listening skills or kind of understands what you're going through, then you know that it's not a good thing to kind of keep things locked up and keep things, you know, that thing of kind of keeping yourself inside and kind of self-reflecting. It's not good. The best thing to do is to be more, and it's easier said than done. It's like we're just sat here saying it. When someone's feeling at the lowest points or not at a good point, they might not be able to go out, they might not be able to speak to anyone at that point. There might be periods where they just think, I just cannot do that. It's easier to say it. But when you do it, it has a massive impact. So I feel like the realisation of this project is a little bit as well, kind of a bit of kind of self-healing for me. So it's almost like a I'm not saying coping mechanism, but like some medication in a way. So it's almost like I'm doing this project and I'm getting a lot from it. I'm getting, you know, it's good for my mental health because that is the reason why I've kind of put it forward. So it's a realisation of that creativity. So it's almost like all the things we've just been speaking about, being creative and putting it into a project where it'll also support other people. and one of them people is me. It supported me
Yeah.
in my own mental struggles, in making me understand them, and also knowing how to cope with them in my way. And I feel like this is one of the ways that I'm doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the impact of the project you're working on, it goes beyond just the people taking part. You know, it's doing something for you, and it's gonna do something for the audience. It reaches beyond those taking part. We've spoke about breaking stigma. How are you going to ensure the impact of this project extends beyond the visual realm and is a catalyst for those meaningful conversations around mental health?
One of the things that I want, I've kind of got goals for the project, is when I've created these images, that when I've worked with different people and we've created whatever their visions are, it'd be great to have an exhibition or produce a book or something like that. And this is something that I might not be able to measure really, because I won't always be there, but I'm hoping that they spark conversations off that people can relate to, or it has an impact where they don't forget something. I know things like that have happened to me, where I've seen something and it kind of, you might watch a film or you might do something else, and that, you're watching a physical thing at that point, but then it makes you do something. It might be, a lot of the time for me is I'll see something and it'll spark some creativity off, and then I'll go and do that creativity. That's the reaction of seeing some art. So that's what I hope would happen. It kind of sparks off conversation with people, where people have more of an understanding of how someone feels, or also the bigger thing, can relate to it and go, that's exactly how I feel. It may be a better understanding of how their mind is, maybe, I don't know. Again, I can't measure it, but I can only bring it together and make it kind of have a positive, I don't know, I feel like just bringing art together. I mean, people come to see art just because they like art.
Yeah.
People come to see a photography exhibition just because they like photography.
Yeah.
But the other side of this is people who might work in the mental health arena might want to go to it, but also people who are struggling. That's who I'm hoping the audience is. So I'm hoping the further reach on the project would be conversation or some kind of support as well. As in, I'm not saying it's like the support of a counsellor, but it might just be that small thing someone else feels exactly as how I feel, and they can relate to one of the images that are produced. Someone might relate to more than one. The other thing, it could be a book, where it could be something like reading material where people can look at and maybe get information from. That is forward thinking, because we're at the early stages of it at the moment.
That's kind of exactly how I envision it, being a catalyst for those conversations, and that's exactly the purpose of season 1 of this podcast. You know, we're speaking about mental health because I want people to see it, the people viewing it, the audiences, to be able to talk to other people about it. So being a catalyst for those conversations. Thinking forward, I know you've said you don't have a timeline for the project.
No.
But when you do have a body of work that maybe you're ready to release, what's going to allow you to look back and label it as a success?
I think my success is, there's different levels of success. I feel like there's short-term successes where I'll work with someone, and I'm hoping this is what I envision with it, is when I'm working with that person who might be struggling with their mental health or well-being, I want them, in that time they're being creative with me, they get what I get when I'm being creative, that kind of, this is a negative thing, but we're proper switching it and it's going to be really positive. So that's for me one of the successes, where if I produce a really good image, that's exactly what that person says, this is exactly how I feel, that's a success. And then you do that multiple times with lots of different people, and then you've got yourself a body of work then. And then you see that success. And when you've got that together, then you've got something that you can present, whether it's presented as a talk, whether it's presented as an exhibition. That's the goal. An exhibition would be amazing, or it's a booklet or something like that. That would be great. And I think that's how I'd kind of measure it. And it'd be great for them individuals to say, look, I've been part of this project where the work's been, I was kind of big in my own, blowing my own trumpet here. The work's been of a certain quality, but I think the important thing is it's really kind of shown what that person's really struggling with. That is the key to it. If I can interpret what someone's struggles are in a visual image, that they can say to someone, this is how I feel. That's the power there. I think that's what I'm trying to achieve. And it's having an understanding of who that person is, and also drawing on my skills at producing images. That again helps my mental health. It's I think that's the success. I feel like my biggest success will be producing the image with that person. That's the thing I'd really enjoy. And then the after success, obviously, is collating it all together and it being something that I can show people in a bigger arena, basically.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is there's many ways you can measure the success, but working with the individuals and almost flipping that negative to a positive is probably the biggest success. And one of the guests I'm going to have on this podcast, she says turning the pain into power.
Yeah, definitely that.
And
I like that.
That's exactly what it is, and I'm super excited not only to have that conversation with her, but to see how this project progresses and develops. Where can people follow this project, the progress of it? Where can they keep up with yourself?
Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so I'll probably be posting things on there. So on Instagram, it's Jags-photography, and on Facebook, it's Justin Garner. So that's where they can follow the project. Project's not produced any images yet. I've produced an image of me. There's one image of me which was quite dark, and just a brief on the image is basically my struggles with liking myself, basically. One day I like myself, another day I don't like myself, and it's a struggle with, I've called it my demons, and it's looking at that where, and I think people can relate to that. One day you kind of proper do yourself down, and then on other days you're like top of the world and you think yes, and you think, but it's the day-to-day things, the struggles that you have with different things that go on with your life that impact where you are mentally. So that's the first one that I've done, but it's not, I mean, it's out there for people to see, but none of the work's been produced yet, but obviously it will be, and obviously people will get to see it. And I hope with social media, I know we've spoke negatively about it, but there is a positive side of it because people get to see you've got good reach. So that's probably where they can follow me and see what I'm up to, and also find out more about the project as it gains weight as it goes through the year.
Perfect. I guess with socials, social media is not bad, it's just how you use it.
Yeah, definitely,
And going back to how you said, one day you like yourself, one day you don't. I seen something that said, don't trust the way you see yourself when you're feeling down.
Yeah.
And I know that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I think my favourite thing about this project is you giving people a positive experience relating to opening up about mental health. Not everyone will have had a positive experience when they open up and be vulnerable. So
No, I think it is, and I think things that people have said when they hear about it, loads of people get excited about, oh, it's a really good idea, and then people tell me stuff like, it's great that you're putting this on the table for people to speak about. You're using art in a way as a medium to take it forward, and it's almost like when you do them two things, kind of makes it a bit more palatable maybe for a person to even explore some of the things that are going on in their heads. So it's a big project. It's not small at all, but yeah, it's dead exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to just get the first images together. So
exactly how I see it, using photography as a vehicle to explore mental health, a topic not many people want to talk about. And you say your project isn't therapy, and I would disagree. If we think about the definition, it's a treatment that helps someone feel better after injury or illness.
Yes.
And I think your project does just that. So I just want to say thank you for being open about mental health and coming on today to share your project and the insights you've shared today. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. If you want to follow along this project, I will put all Justin's socials down in the description below.
Thank you for tuning in to the Value Exchange podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as me and gained some valuable insights along the way. Be sure to stay connected by clicking that subscribe button and join the community, redefining the dialogue. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and don't miss out. Follow us on socials and let us know your thoughts on today's episode. Take care, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Value Exchange podcast.